Hi, this is Erica Smith, and this is my overview of the MAP program. The first class I'm going to look at is TE 693, Measuring and Assessing Student Achievement. A salient idea of this class was understanding how to administer appropriate assessments, just assessments in general, formal and informal assessments, formative and summative assessments, different ways to administer these assessments, the appropriate assessment to use depending on the content that is being assessed, interpreting the data to inform planning and instruction, and then also manipulating that data for communication of results, whether that be to another teacher, to parent, to students, or administration. And this affected my teaching because it made me realize that I needed to spend more time analyzing the data, as well as giving more opportunities for assessments, whether that be formative or summative. I know that in my classroom summative assessments, I allow the students what I call a second chance. So, or this also through formative as well. They can do an assignment more than one time to receive proficiency level, and then incorporating various forms, and also using technology to do that. TE 790, Seminar on Teacher Education and Multilingual Acquisition, really focused on linguistically relevant conscious pedagogy with an emphasis and primary focus on the multilingual student and how to teach them, and the curriculum design and instruction for them, and identifying them not just as English language learners, but as multilingual students, emergent bilinguals, bilingual learners, and then an emphasis on differentiation and scaffolding that's appropriate for them to receive or reach a proficiency level in English language development. The effect this had on my teaching was, I would say, was very great. It made me really cognizant of the process that bilingual students are going through while they're in the classroom, and it just opened my mind up to something that I hadn't learned before. I felt like before this class I was such a focus on they need to learn English, but not realizing where they're coming from linguistically, and that really helped me to allow them to facilitate more of a classroom for oral language development. And for example, like having the students tell me how to say a vocabulary word in their native tongue, incorporating both their native tongue and the English language. And that actually also goes into another class on TE 677 with culturally relevant pedagogy and building that background knowledge of the students and where they come from. So just incorporating more strategies for them to practice oral language. The next class I'm going to look at is TE 570, Teaching with Technology. That class focused on the 4 C's: communication, critical thinking, collaboration, and creativity. And we just incorporated those 4 C's throughout all of our activities. And we learned how to use various innovative technology tools in the classroom for various reasons, whether that be through an assignment or a type of assessment. And the book Innovator's Mindset really affected my teaching and encouraged me to incorporate more technology and provide various platforms for administering curriculum, as well as allowing the students to demonstrate their knowledge and understanding of the curriculum. TE 677, Research Diverse Learner. This course mainly focused on culturally relevant pedagogy, which I will get to in a moment, but has really affected my teaching. And the emphasis was just basically knowing your students. Where do they come from? What is their home life like? Knowing their interests and their needs and their desires, and incorporating multicultural texts that reflect their cultural background and give them something to connect to in the classroom, and making their learning more meaningful and more concrete. And that really affected my teaching. I love culture. I love diversity. I really value the students understanding that our world is so diverse. That way that they are prepared to go out into the real world, ready to interact with people from various backgrounds. So incorporating and multicultural texts, not just in my classroom library, but through assignments and discussions, not allowing them, but having students share their connections to those multicultural texts, or even if it isn't a multicultural text and it's just an article, having them and encouraging them to share out any personal experiences they have had that come from their background. And that also allows the students to connect with each other and to build a community in the classroom. The next class is TE 615, Teaching Critical Thinking Using Technology. And a salient idea of this class was how to develop critical thinking in students, how to incorporate it, model it, and teach it. I feel like this class really focused on problem solving, which actually ties into this class, TE 600, but also using critical thinking strategies for problem solving, decision making, conceptualizing, and critical thinking skills, and then educating diverse learners and using technology to do just that. Like LDT 570, it really, they were so close together, but they saw the same impact, which is just the integration of technology, in the classroom and using it more frequently. For example, we just got done doing a water cycle unit, and instead of having the kids take a test on the water cycle, I had them demonstrate their knowledge. I actually incorporated several ideas from several of these courses. I had the students demonstrate their understanding by writing a story about the life of a water drop going through the water cycle, but I had them do it through a program that I found online called Story Jumper that I learned about through LDT 570. And before they even got to that, they worked with a partner. They thought through their planning and their storyboard for their book, essentially. And just having more opportunities for them to have critical thinking, specifically through discussions in the classroom, and focusing more on query-based learning. I haven't incorporated that yet, but is still a goal of mine that I plan to achieve within the next couple of years of teaching. And then the last class is TE 709, which is inclusive education. We learned about the IDEA laws and what is considered disabilities under IDEA and what they need in order to have the same access to the curriculum as all the other students in the classroom. And Willowbrook I will always remember this video and how, it was traumatizing for me, so I can imagine how it was for people that were there, but just how far we've come in special education. And then accommodations that those students need through presentation and response and setting and timing, and just really understanding what inclusive teaching is in the classroom. This affected my teaching just because of the mindfulness of my students with disabilities and really knowing what it is that they need, even in the split of a second. What they need on Tuesday might be different from what they need on Wednesday, and just making that adjustment for them so that they can be successful in the classroom. I'm looking forward to these courses and just what I'm going to learn from these next two classes and how I'm going to grow as a professional and what I can take back to my classroom to help my students become more educated and just better learners, and how they can help me grow as well. Thank you for listening.